everyone. It's so great to be here. Since ship last year, the world has changed a lot. We're writing less code by hand, but more ideas are coming to life than ever before. In fact, 6 months ago, less than 3% of Vercel's deployments were triggered by coding agents or clankers. Since then, the number has grown 17 times. Over half of deployments on Vercel now come from agents. It's wild. But the bigger shift is what those agents are deploying. Since the beginning of the year, agentic workloads on Vercel have doubled. Volume on AI Gateway grew from 2 trillion to 20 trillion tokens per month. And the shift we're seeing is that we're using agents to deploy software that can think. We're shipping agentic sites and apps, but we're using agents to ship agents. It's a really profound change. So I want to go back in time and show you how we got here, because our new world is agentic, but it all started with websites. Look at that, little G, back in Argentina, building simple sites with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I was so excited to put my creations online. And that's what the web is all about, sharing our ideas with the world. In fact, we built that first version of Vercel to make that easy for anyone. It was infrastructure for pages, caching, and global content delivery. Today, we serve the fastest, most beautiful websites in the world for companies like the Met, Supreme, and Warby Parker. But the web is no longer static. It's dynamic. Sites became data-powered applications. So Vercel built infrastructure for servers, APIs, and databases. Now Zapier, Stripe, and the New York's own Today Ticks run apps at scale on Vercel. For over a decade, we've been building Vercel into a cloud where you can run everything. And in the last year, we've shipped some huge steps towards that vision. We brought on some of the finest Python developers in the world to extend our core infrastructure for backend frameworks. So now you can run backends like FastAPI, Flask, Express.js, and Hono at scale on Vercel. We built out a complete agentic layer. So you can run long running functions on fluid compute. You can make workflows durable. You can spin up secure sandboxes, and you can host your MCP servers. So you make your app available to any agent. And we brought everything else your app needs right into Vercel, from databases to commerce. So you can manage Amazon Aura Postgres and vSQL, auth providers like Auth0, CMS platforms like Sanity, and checkout from Shopify, all within Vercel. So this means that you can run any architecture you want on our infrastructure. For example, OpenAI, a little AI lab you might have heard of. That's right. They run Next.js frontends on Vercel, Python backends on Vercel, reaching over a gazillion users every day. And so in addition to frontends, you can host backend-only services like REST APIs, GraphQL, remember GraphQL? Written in, yes, right. Written in TypeScript or Python. And so you can deploy workflows and queues that handle long-running asynchronous jobs, billions of messages every day. You can bring your entire application, and Vercel will run all of it. Which reminds me, people keep asking me, when I'm in San Francisco, they stop me on the streets and they say, what is the Vercel for backends? And I tell them, Vercel is the Vercel for backends. Of course, and today we'll prove it. The reality is that all of this software is becoming autonomous. It's very, very exciting. Websites and apps used to respond to user input with logic, but now they have agents inside that can understand intent and perform autonomous work. Every new generation of software demands a new generation of infrastructure. So it's natural that agentic software needs agentic infrastructure. And that's exactly what we're building at Vercel. Agentic infra has 3 parts. Number 1, Vercel is where coding agents deploy software. So when you ask Claude Code or Codex where to deploy, you get Vercel. Because Vercel is built for the way that agents think and work. Second, Vercel is where you build and deploy your own agents. So we give you every tool you need to build and run apps and agents in production securely at scale in one platform. And third, Vercel itself is automated by agents. So Vercel runs your apps in production. We handle traffic, observability, traces, anomalies. And so that data gives our agents the context they need to investigate autonomously and give you PRs, not just alerts. And so for context, teams using Claude Code deploy to Vercel 5 times more frequently than teams who don't. That's because we set the standard for developer experience, and now we're doing the same for the experience of the agents that those developers use. Coding agents love deploying to Vercel because we give them everything they need. When an agent needs to verify the work, it needs a live URL it can test. So Vercel gives every deployment a dedicated, secure preview environment. When you ask your agent to ship an experiment, it needs to roll out that experiment safely. So Vercel gives every experiment a feature flag, the infrastructure to control and roll out that change with confidence, with instant rollback and other capabilities. And you don't want your agent wasting time clicking around a dashboard like it's 1955. That's right. An agent is most efficient when every part of the platform is available in its own language. And so Vercel gives the agent a CLI, APIs, MCPs. So this year, as an example, an engineer at Meta opened Claude Code and asked it to build an internal tool. When it was time to test it, he asked Claude, where do I deploy this internal tool? And push it to Vercel. A week later, everyone on his team was deployed to Vercel. Within a month, Vercel was the go-to platform for all of Meta superintelligence labs. Meta.ai, Meta's frontier AI product, was born on Vercel. And this happened even though Meta had already spent a gazillion trillion dollars building their own deployment platform, building their own infrastructure. But even the most powerful infrastructure in the world doesn't natively speak the language of agents. Vercel does. And so agentic infrastructure is where you deploy your websites, apps, and agents. Thank you.
G just told you that our compute layer powers everything on Vercel. I want to tell you about it because for years, running serverless compute meant living with trade-offs. Serverless was supposed to free you from managing servers, and it did. But every one of you who shipped a serverless function knows that it came with a catch. Actually, a whole list of them, depending on the vendor. Your function can only run for so long. There are rules on how big your function could be. Network access was often wide open. Good luck getting FFmpeg to work. Trust me, I've been there. You get one operating system, or in some cases, none. Take it or leave it. There are vendors out there who don't give you real Node.js or Python. The limitations on how much you can upload to that function, and forget about holding long connections open. No WebSockets, no long-lived streams. Every one of those is a place where the platform just said no. I'm happy to announce that with Fluid Compute 2.0, that list is gone. You can run functions for up to 30 minutes. Functions can be up to 5 gigabytes in size. You get private, secure connections to your own backends. You can install any package. You can pick your operating system. Still, as always on Vercel, you get real Node and real Python. Large uploads are no problem. And there's full WebSocket support. And of course, you keep everything you always liked about serverless. Automatic securities updates and automated scaling. This is 10 years of innovation building the compute stack of the future. I'm so proud of the hard work our team has done to give you a world free from trade-offs. So how do we do it? How do we flip every one of those no's to a yes? Most platforms stitch together a zoo of primitives: bare metal, VMs, containers, WASM, process isolation, V8 isolates, each with their own rules and trade-offs. We made one bet instead. We bet everything on micro VMs and built a platform we call Hive. A micro VM gives you a strong, no-compromise kernel-level isolation between tenants. There are no shortcuts on security. Our bet was that micro VMs could model every kind of compute Vercel runs. Now, that journey started with builds a few years ago, actually. Today, every compute primitive on Vercel runs on that one unified stack that's builds, sandboxes, and functions. Now, a few weeks ago, we brought Docker and OCI images to Sandbox. But I just mentioned how functions and sandboxes are now run on one unified stack. So could I run Docker on Vercel functions? Yes, you can. Today, we're bringing Docker images to the whole platform with Vercel container registry and flexible runtimes for fluid compute. Thank you. You heard that right. You can now run Docker images on Vercel and truly ship anything you want. Ruby on Rails, PHP, Java, even .NET. Now all work natively on Vercel. And like G said earlier, you can run anything on our infrastructure: front-ends, back-ends, and back-end-only services, and now you can run your own containers. But developers also tell us it's too hard to wire all these pieces together. And so we fixed it. Today, I'm excited to announce Vercel Services. It's the developer experience you know and love for your full stack applications. You can now develop your front-end and back-end together with one command, vcdef, and everything spins up locally. When you push a commit, you get a preview URL for your entire app. Not just the front-end, even back-end only commit generate a full preview you can test before you ship. And all services you deploy can talk to each other privately without ever touching the public internet. You can now run all your microservices on Vercel, and everything just works. All right. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. What might it be? This is all great, but what does it cost? You could throw all of this on a $5 VPS, right? Or as they call it, post-inflation, the $25 VPS. Jokes aside, here's the real model. Fluid compute uses active CPU pricing. You pay the CPU price only when you're actually computing. So when your agent is sitting there waiting on an LLM, that is zero CPU cost. This is a compute primitive and pricing model that was designed for agents. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I can run my own server cheaper. And to be honest, I was kind of thinking that myself. But can you actually do this? Let's go through this model. Start with us. Fluid is one flat price. It's about 15 cents per active CPU hour. Again, you only pay for the CPU you actually burn. A server you rent is the opposite, right? You pay for the whole machine every hour, whether you use it or not. So, math in our head, renting only wins if you keep that machine very busy. Just to match our price on raw EC2, you have to run it at 35% utilization every hour, all year. That's your production systems. Possible, for sure. It's your staging systems and the developer sandboxes. Everything together must be above 35% to match fluid. In practice, almost nobody runs that hot. Data for real-world average utilization Kubernetes in 2026 is that companies on average achieve 8% utilization when considering all those systems. That means you actually use it about 1 hour in every 12 hours. So that 15-cent CPU hour in fluid compute, on EC2, it costs you 58 cents. And if you add Fargate or EKS, it's even more. It's the same compute, 3 to 4 times the price, and you get the privilege of running it yourself. With active CPU pricing, you never manage any of this. You pay for the CPUs, and that's it. Cool. Let's summarize Fluid Compute 2.0. Up to 30 minutes of function duration. Up to 5 gigabytes of code per function. Continued support for VPC peering, VPNs, and static egress IPs. Full Docker image support. Great DX for Vercel services. And choose your own OS with continued real support for Node.js, Python, and even .NET. Up to 100 megabytes of uploads, full WebSocket support, and active CPU pricing that beats renting servers in most real-world situations. Vercel is now the most capable compute platform for every type of workload, front ends, back ends, and agents. Let me bring up Tomo, our Chief Product Officer, to show you what you can build and run on top of it.
Hello, everyone. Malte, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be back in New York with all of you. With the latest compute innovations Malte just walked us through, Vercel is now the ideal platform for deploying any type of full-stack application. That includes backends. It's also the ideal platform for building and deploying agents. Agents need to connect to models, execute complex workflows, and connect to data and apps. And Vercel's agent stack provides all the tools you need to build and ship truly capable agents. Let me walk you through these tools now, starting with how we connect to LLMs using the AI SDK. AI SDK was initially released 3 years ago, last week, and has been in active development ever since. It's a universal toolkit for building AI applications, frameworks, and agents across any model provider. It's platform agnostic, and it allows you to generate text, images, audio, and more. With over 16 million NPM downloads every week, it's become the standard TypeScript SDK for accessing any model from any provider. And we also recently released the AI SDK for Python. AI SDK is being used at massive scale by companies all over the world, like Brex. Brex helps businesses with spend management, expenses, corporate cards, and things like that. They build agents that review thousands of transactions in order to audit expenses. Those agents call models, invoke tools, stream results, and parse structured financial data to identify anomalies. And the AI SDK simplifies all of this with a standard abstraction layer. The best part is that you can experiment with different models for different parts of your application, and you can try out new models as soon as they're released, all without needing to make any changes to your product code. Last week, we released our latest major version, AI SDK 7. It adds a ton of new capabilities for working across the entire agent lifecycle. It adds a unified API for reasoning, strongly typed tool and runtime context, support for tool approvals, durability, timeouts, and so much more. But it also enables you to generate videos and build real-time voice apps and agents. Okay, so AI SDK makes building with AI easy, but you still need to manage the connection to the underlying models and providers. That's where our next agent stack primitive comes in, which is the AI Gateway. AI Gateway provides a unified interface for accessing AI models, but it's actually so much more than that. Internally, I've been calling the AI Gateway a token delivery network, and I want to explain what I mean by that. In the early days of the web, there was something called the hot origin problem. Does anyone remember this? It was actually called the hot origin problem. Guillermo doesn't agree with me about the naming here, but this is a real thing. Popular sites would suddenly receive spikes in traffic from everywhere, but content lived in only one or a few origin locations. This created overloaded servers, slow downloads, and a pretty unpredictable user experience. The web sort of outgrew the idea that every user should fetch every asset directly from the origin. And so the CDN was born. The CDN became the internet's performance and reliability fabric, providing intelligent routing, distributed edges, observability, and so much more. Similarly, AI use cases have now sort of outgrown the idea that every token should be fetched directly from the model provider. Tokens have actually become a production dependency now. We don't just use them during dev, we use them all the time. And the model labs are becoming the new origins. They're powerful, but they're also expensive, rate limited, and both geographically and operationally variable. As our friends at the Model Labs know, this is a really hard problem at scale. And so that's why we built the AI Gateway. It routes around failures, it serves tokens reliably through the same global network that Vercel has run for over a decade. It also simplifies auth, centralizes usage and spend tracking with granular observability, and offers zero data retention. But there's another important problem that the AI Gateway solves, which is model choice. Today's agents don't actually use a single model architecture anymore. They use many models from many providers. Our AI Gateway Production Index recently showed that teams running agents at scale route across 35 different models. So model choice isn't just about experimentation anymore, it's how you actually run AI in production at scale. Serhant is one of the most recognized names in real estate, and they use Vercel's AI Gateway to build an AI app that helps their team with property valuation, marketing, and client communication. They use different models for different tasks based on the need for power or if they're trying to watch cost. Claude performs complex market analysis, GPT is used to create marketing copy, and Gemini generates images. And all of this happens with a single AI Gateway API key. AI Gateway is already serving over 1 trillion tokens per day across hundreds of models from dozens of providers. It's a huge part of what makes Vercel the open platform for AI. Okay, so Vercel now serves pixels and tokens instantly and reliably, but modern software doesn't really follow a simple request-response model anymore. Agents may need to run for minutes, hours, or even days, and across many complex tasks. So that's where the next tool in the agent stack comes in, which is the Workflow SDK. Long-running workflows and back-end jobs are nothing new in software, but they're one of the most challenging things to build. Things can go wrong, and they do, and I'm sure many of you have experienced timeouts, dropped state, dropped connections, and more. Without a primitive for durability, you have to kind of hand-stitch together things like retries, state persistence, and this can get really ugly. This is why we built the Workflow SDK. We like to say it provides infinite compute durability. It enables you to build long-running apps and agents that automatically suspend, resume, retry, and maintain state with ease. DoorDash uses the Workflow SDK to run traditional ETL jobs, keeping data in their app up to date. And our customer Flora built an entire AI design platform on the Workflow SDK to help designers generate visual content at scale. Inside their platform, agents fan out across 50 different image models to generate visual directions from a single creative brief. Workflow SDK checkpoints every step of every agent and pauses when the job needs human input. And because every failure is automatically retried, the designer never needs to start over. The whole idea behind agents is that they can solve complex tasks across multi-step workflows. And what we found is that one of the primary ways agents want to accomplish tasks these days is by writing and executing code. That's where our next agent stack primitive comes in, Vercel Sandbox. LLMs have gotten really good at producing working code to accomplish a task, but that code is still untrusted, and it can't be run inside the same environment that has access to our production systems. We need a special production-grade environment that's designed for executing untrusted code in a secure and isolated way. Vercel is actually no stranger to this problem of untrusted code execution because of preview deployments and builds. We host over 1 billion production-grade preview deployments and run over 6 million builds every single day. Every one of those builds happens inside an isolated micro VM compute environment. With Vercel Sandbox, that same isolated compute environment is now available to you and your agents. It's the safest way to run code you didn't write, and it's perfect for agents. Each sandbox is a fully functional computer with a file system, security boundary, and even full Docker support, as Malte just mentioned. And of course, it's all built on top of Fluid Compute. Vercel Sandbox is already being used in production at scale by the best companies in the world, including Notion. Millions of teams use Notion as their AI workspace, capturing knowledge, answering questions, and moving projects forward. And now you can extend Notion with custom agents. This enables you to do things like sync CRM data, turn Slack threads into content, and connect to external workflows. But custom agents need code, and that code has to run safely, which is why Notion runs custom agents on Vercel Sandbox. Since each agent gets its own general purpose compute environment, everything outside the sandbox stays protected. Okay, so now we can execute code securely inside long-running workflows. But in order to do anything useful, our agents need to access data and tools. And that's where the next layer of the agent stack comes in, starting with Vercel Connect. Vercel Connect is a brand new building block that allows your agents to securely connect to all the data and systems they need. With Connect, your agents can access tools like Slack, GitHub, Salesforce, Snowflake, and so many more. And you can even create your own custom connectors with OAuth and API keys. But here's the most important part. Instead of long-lived secrets, every connection uses a short-lived, minimally scoped access token. So an agent never has standing access to your systems, and it never touches data it shouldn't. This short-lived access token point is really, really important, and minimal scoped access. Zapier makes it easy for people to build AI automations and workflows. They use Vercel Connect to give their apps private IP-stable network access to internal AWS resources like RDS, EKS, and more via private link and VPC peering. That means their apps can use real live business data, not just whatever's reachable via a public API. With Vercel Connect, your agents can securely connect to your full range of internal systems, your CRM, your ERP, your HRIS, data warehouses, and more. But one of the most important connections your agents need is to the tools we use to interact with them. And that's where the next primitive in the agent stack comes in, which is the Chat SDK. Chat SDK provides an elegant abstraction layer enabling you to interact with agents across dozens of apps. The most powerful agents we've built at Vercel are effectively our coworkers, and we interact with them where work is happening, as it's happening. With just a single line of code, Chat SDK enables your users to interact with agents across tools like Slack, Teams, Google Chat, Discord, GitHub, Linear, Telegram, WhatsApp, and so many more. NanoClaw helps companies run AI agents, and they built their platform on top of the Chat SDK. It's a single code base, but it delivers agents across 15 messaging apps. So that's the Vercel agent stack. It's a singular set of end-to-end capabilities covering everything needed to build and ship agents to production. We've taken everything we've learned building agents over the past few years and turned those learnings into best-in-class primitives that work at Vercel scale. We love this stack, and our customers do too. It's a powerful stack that fills a real gap in the ecosystem. But there's still quite a bit of complexity. Each of these primitives still needs to be wired up into a single cohesive agent. What if they didn't? At Vercel, we don't want to just build the world's most powerful agents or enable you to build the world's most powerful agents. We want those agents to have craft. We want building them to be simple. And that means we also have to provide you with the fastest and easiest way to stitch all of those primitives together. To make that possible, we built the newest member of the agent stack family, Eve. Thank you. Eve is our platform-agnostic framework for building complete end-to-end production agents. It's opinionated based on everything we've learned over the past 2 years, but critically, it's also completely open source and modular. It's built to work seamlessly with our infrastructure with high cohesion between Vercel and Eve, but it's completely customizable, so you can make it your own and run it anywhere you'd like. With Eve, every agent is just a directory laid out in a truly intuitive way. We like to call it the Next.js for agents. I have a lot more to share about Eve, but first I want to welcome Shar to the stage to walk us through a demo.
Thanks, Tomo. Over the last year, we've taken everything we've learned about building agents and we packaged it into Eve. Let me show you how it works. I'll get started with a single command in my terminal. This command will scaffold an agent directory, install dependencies, and start an interactive chat session with the agent. Next, I'll configure a model provider. I'll select Vercel AI Gateway, select the Vercel team, links to a project in that team, and we're done. Now let's test the agent. Who are you? Okay, that was fast. I just built a fully functional agent in less than a minute. Now, this agent runs with just 2 files, agent.ts, which configures the agent's model, and instruction.md that defines the agent's identity. And that simplicity is what makes it so easy to build an agent with Eve. Now, let's build a real use case, a go-to-market sales agent that processes call transcripts and updates Salesforce and Linear. Let's build that agent with Eve. And first, I'll give the agent an identity. In the instructions markdown, I'll describe a go-to-market assistant that can create linear issues and update Salesforce opportunities based on call transcripts. And just like that, the agents have an updated charter. Next, the agent needs to create issues, so I'll connect it to Linear. And connections are how Eve plugs into external MCP and OpenAPI servers, and they go in the connections folder. I'll define a MCP client connection and use the Linear connector in my Vercel team, and I can limit the Linear MCP tools the agent can use. I also want the agent to know how to create linear issues, so I'll add a skill. And skills go to the skills folder. This skill will tell the agent it should look for feature requests in the transcript and separate linear issues by topic. Now let's test the agent. It should be able to create linear issues. Great. Issue was created, and we should also see it in Linear. Next, the agent needs to update Salesforce opportunities. We want to use the Salesforce CLI to make updates, and the commands to be executed safely in isolation. I'll configure Sandbox.ts. This sets up a private VM for the agent to work in. And the sandbox is only allowed to talk to Salesforce and nothing else. I'll give the agent a Salesforce tool in the tools folder. This will run the Salesforce CLI inside that sandbox. And Salesforce updates need approval from someone on the team, so I'll also give it human in the loop. So it always requires an approval from a human. And lastly, the tool execution function that will only update Salesforce opportunity. Now let's test the Salesforce step. I'll ask it to update a Salesforce opportunity. That's human in the loop. And it's updated. And if you go to Salesforce refresh, we should see the updated status. Great. Eve also comes with evals support out of the box. So I can run the agent against real sessions and grade the results. Eve discovers evals under the evals folder. I'll set a config and specify a model to judge the evals. Then create a transcript with 2 different requests and check that the agent opened 2 issues, split them by topic, and didn't touch Salesforce on its own. Now let's run the eval. Great, it passed. Now a prompt change can quietly break the agent. We are now ready to make the agent available in Slack for the sales team. So back to the TUI, I'll run /channels, add Slack. Yes, I want a Slack bot. Create a Slack connector. This will install the Slack bot in the workspace. And deploy to Vercel. Let's test it end to end. I'll give it an example transcript in Slack, tag the agent. It'll ask me to approve the change. And that's it. We built a production-ready agent that our team can use. But we're not done yet. This agent is also fully observable. So let's take a look at that conversation we just had with it. In the Vercel dashboard, I'll click on Observability, Agent runs, and here's the conversation. I can see the entire conversation history, the token usage, the length of run, the inputs, outputs, and the agent reasoning. I can even drill down into each of the tool calls the agent made. And lastly, Eve is open source. You own your code, you can swap the primitives, and Vercel is the fastest way to deploy it, but it's not the only way. And that's Eve. We just built a production-ready agent in 5 minutes. Back to you, Tom.
We launched Eve 2 weeks ago at SHIP in London, and it's been incredible to see what everyone has built already. Over 1,500 teams have deployed over 40,000 agents on Eve, and it's got over 250,000 NPM downloads in the last week. But developers aren't just experimenting with Eve, they're running agents in production at scale. Clay built a data analyst agent on Eve, Solomon built an incident response agent on Eve, and Basque Health built an agent that lets non-technical users design and preview product features. Here's a quote from the team at Basque Health that I'm really proud of. We've gone through a few different iterations over the last 6 months, but Eve has been the most batteries included experience. I can't believe how quickly we got up and running. This was exactly our goal. Now, we've built a ton of agents ourselves, as we've mentioned a few times, but one that I'm particularly proud of, we gave the Vercel name. We just call it Vercel Agent. I like to describe it as an intelligence layer for Vercel because it can help you do almost anything on the platform. We built a beautiful web UI so you can chat with Vercel Agent directly from the dashboard and ask it almost anything. For example, you can ask it to fix the 500s that are showing up in your logs and it'll perform an investigation. You can ask it to find accessibility issues in your project and it'll run a review and open a pull request. Or you can simply ask it to fix your build, and it'll read the deployment logs, find the failing config, validate the fix in a sandbox, and redeploy with your approval. But what I love most is that the Vercel agent is not just another chatbot. It sees your app running in production and proactively monitors your infrastructure on your behalf. Let me give you an example. Let's say you get an alert about a partial outage. When you log into the dashboard and click on the alert, Vercel Agent will have already run an investigation on the anomaly. Here we can see it found that the API key object is undefined at runtime, and errors appeared after the last deployment a few minutes ago. It recommended an instant rollback to the previous release, which, when in doubt, is always the right action to take. So this one's an easy one to approve. With permission, Vercel Agent rolled back to the last production deployment before the 500s showed up. And after the rollback was successful, our app is back online and Vercel Agent can kick off work on a proper fix for the error. Now, the first question every CTO asks is it safe to let the agent do that? And this is the right question, because most agents inherit their users' permissions. They run as you do and can do everything you can do. So a single bad prompt can have extremely wide blast radius. But Vercel Agent has a first-of-its-kind permission model. It has its own identity, and it's read-only by default. First, Vercel Agent presents you with a plan, not an unknown number of approvals. And instead of asking, can I do this, you approve the entire plan up front. So you know what the outcome is going to be before Vercel Agent does any work. Then it's granted permissions scoped exactly to that plan and nothing more. Every agent runs in a sandbox before it touches production, and anything that changes your production app waits for your approval. So it never has more access than the task needs, and it never stops to ask you again. Vercel Agent is just one of the many agents that we've built, and I'm excited to welcome Jeanne, our COO, to the stage to tell you about all of the agents we've built to transform our go-to-market motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Tomo. Vercel Agent shows you what's possible when you build agents the right way. And every company in this room is going to build an agent just like it. There are two types of people in this room hearing that. Some of you are sitting there thinking, let's go. I am shipping tonight. And then there are the CIOs and the CTOs in the room who are thinking, oh no, because you can already feel what's coming. Shadow agents writing to systems with no audit trail, AI bot user closing your tickets, spend you can't explain. Both of you are right. Building agents is easier than you think and way harder than you think. I'm going to tell you about that tension and what we've learned at Vercel from living it. Drew Bredvik, who works for me, is head of go-to-market engineering. In June of 2025, he had the sexiest job in the world. His mandate, build the agents that would transform how Vercel goes to market. It worked. A year later, agents are part of our daily workflow, running at scale across our entire go-to-market organization. You did a great job, Drew. So today, I'm handing you a pager. Let me tell you why. What we learned was that agents are free, as in free puppies. Everyone loves puppies, but they pee on your floor. They eat your furniture, and you can't go on vacation. Agents are free because anyone can prompt code, but agents are also software, and we all know that software is never done. Someone has to maintain them, update models, and build new features. Building hundreds of agents taught us hard lessons. First, we saw the same problem solved over and over. Multiple agents needed to connect to the same internal systems. Each team built their own integrations from Slack. Second, each agent was reading from different knowledge bases. Our team would ask the same question and get different answers. Third, we had no visibility. No one knew how many agents existed, who built them, or what data they touched. Fourth, that lack of data visibility also meant adoption chaos. I'm on Slack, I type @ 500 agents pop up. I don't know what any of them do. And last, we also learned that chat isn't all that you need. We started with the idea that Slack was the universal interface, and that was wrong. The agents that actually got used also had front ends for permissions, for visualizing data, for workflows, and for keeping humans in the loop. We learned that our agents had to work on day 1 and day 100. And I'm happy to tell you that they do. We run over 100 agents in production at Vercel, and they're part of how we operate every single day. I want to tell you about 10 of the most important ones. And the order matters. We started with the most obvious use cases and worked our way towards the agents that changed our internal processes and transformed how we operate the go-to-market team. First, Vertex is our customer support agent. It resolves over 91% of support tickets across the Help Center, Slack, and Docs chat. Second, Deal 1 is our deal intelligence agent. It listens to every sales call, coaches our sales reps in Slack, and runs a postmortem on every lost deal. The Deal 1 MCP has been called 17,000 times in the last month. Next, Draft 0 is our content agent. It writes the first draft of every blog post, changelog, and customer story we publish. A0 is our AEO agent. It tracks how Vercel's brand and content shows up across AI search. Every day, it runs hundreds of prompts across dozens of coding agents. Revoa is our Salesforce update agent. It publishes critical record changes to Salesforce with a human in the loop. It saves 9 hours of time for our RevOps team every single day. And Penny is our finance and ops agent. It has access to our billing platform, payment provider, and monitoring systems. It saves our finance and on-call engineering teams hours of answering billing questions. And then there's V. V is our routing agent. It routes requests to all of our other internal agents. Remember that adoption problem? We still have 100 agents. But V is the front door to all of them. Ask V a question, and it picks the right agent for the job. The last three I'm going to show you are the ones I want to spend real time on, because every one of you is going to want to build them. First, D0, our data agent. D0 gives the entire company 24/7 on-demand analytics and data science. Anyone at Vercel, engineers, AEs, finance, support, can run analytics on data from our warehouse without filing a ticket or waiting on the data team. Users can ask simple questions like how many leads we got from this campaign, and D0 writes and runs SQL. But D0 is also a data scientist. If users need statistical analysis done, it spins up a Sandbox and runs Python to generate reports. D0 is the most used internal tool at Vercel. It handles 30,000 questions per month. And it's safe at scale. V0 doesn't run in God mode. Every query is scoped to the user's permissions. If you can't see a table in Snowflake, D0 can't show it to you either. Under the hood, D0 needed a semantic layer. And even though you can ask questions in Slack, it needed a UI so people could explore charts and drill into data. Next, Athena, our sales cockpit. Salesforce announced headless. We've been running on it for months. Athena picks accounts, plans outreach, tracks signals, and runs the weekly motion for every AE at Vercel. Shortly after we went live, pipeline coverage nearly doubled. Every AE uses it every single day. Under the hood, Athena needed the same semantic layer D0 needed, plus durable workflows and secure connections, plus a UI, because GTM agents are more effective with pixels and buttons than just a Slack chat channel. Third, our lead agent, an autonomous SDR. We trained lead agent on the playbook of our best SDR, and now it runs that playbook 24/7. You may have seen the headline last year. We took 10 SDRs down to 1. That was lead agent. We redeployed those 9 reps into bigger roles and raised our quota. We've seen a 32x ROI, and it costs $5,000 a year to run. It performs at the 90th percentile of our reps, and 1 engineer maintains it part-time. Under the hood, lead agent runs on the stack Tomo just showed you. AI SDK, Workflows SDK, Chat SDK. And it's open source, so you can go build your own today. Building these agents was easy because we use Next.js and our agent framework, Eve. And running them was never a problem because they run on Vercel. Remember when I said that building agents is way harder than you think? The hard part is everything around them. Who can access them, how they authenticate, what data they can touch, and providing all of this to your security team. So we spent the last year building the platform that makes that easy. And today, we're making it available to you. I'm excited to announce Vercel for Enterprise Apps and Agents. It's the Vercel developer experience you love for everyone at your company, with identity and access built in, an option to run it in your own AWS tenant. Like all of our products, it's portable because it's framework and model agnostic. We built it for ourselves first, and now it's the platform you can build on. Let me show you the most important pieces. I said earlier that anyone can prompt Claude. The reality is that your employees are already doing this, whether you know it or not. That's called shadow IT, and AI has already caused major data breaches in the enterprise. So even if you control who builds AI, you still have to limit access to the apps and agents they build. That's where Vercel Passport comes in. Whether you're using V0, Claude Code, Codex, everything your team builds stays internal, governed by the identity provider you already run, like Okta or Microsoft Entra. And it goes deeper than the front door. Passport issues a token tied to each user's identity and carries it through to the backends and systems your apps and agents connect to. At Vercel, we use V0 to build data apps and reports powered by our native Snowflake integration. This allows us to build apps that have direct access to our Snowflake data. But Passport doesn't just protect access to the application, it also limits the data users can see in the application based on permissions provided by our IDP. I'll give you another example from our customer, Mercor. Their security team built an internal agent that understands their entire code base. You can ask it questions like, which of our public routes connect to a database? And it will pull answers across every repository. It'll even kick off fixes. But what makes it interesting is not just people asking the agent questions, other agents query it too. So they had a hard problem. They wanted employees and agents to be able to use it, and they wanted to control access. But they didn't want to hand build and manage authentication for it. They implemented Passport and Connect in under a week, and now the agent runs on Vercel behind Okta, the IDP they already use. The right people and agents get in, scoped automatically with no homegrown auth. Passport controls who gets into your apps, but when everyone is shipping, you also need the ability to look across deployments and see if there are security risks. That's why we built the security dashboard. It's one place to see the security posture of every account and project on Vercel. It flags misconfigurations that can lead to breaches, shows you members without MFA, alerts you about secrets shared across projects, and identified long-lived credentials when short ones will do. The best part is that it actually shows you how to fix each problem. I'm excited to tell you that today, all of those deployments can run in your own AWS tenant. You heard that right. You can run Vercel functions in your own AWS account. Whatever you build with agents stays inside your cloud. Everything I've shown you today runs on Vercel's core platform. It's the same platform the world's best teams have trusted for over a decade for our developer experience, previews, firewall, end-to-end observability, and features like instant rollback. These new capabilities aren't bolted on. They're a part of the Vercel you already trust. The teams who ship fast, securely, at scale are the teams who will win. We built enterprise apps and agents so that can be you. G, back to you to wrap up.
Thanks, Jeanne. Today, we showed you that Vercel is the platform where you can build and run everything. Any kind of website, app, or agent. Your backend frameworks can run at scale. With Vercel services, you can develop, preview, and ship backends and frontends together. Fluid compute, as Malte showed us, lets you run any type of workload, from instant serverless functions to backend agent jobs that take hours, days, months to complete. And you can even bring your own container. With Eve, your team can build a production agent in minutes. Vercel Passport makes sure your internal agents and apps stay internal behind your IDP. And you can run all of this in the security, beauty of your AWS account. It's beautiful. And you can start today. Ask your coding agent to install the Vercel plugin. Then you can build anything, a website, an app, an agent, and ship it at global scale. And Vercel Agent, of course, will keep an eye on production. This is agentic infrastructure. We can't wait to see what you all ship next. Thank you very much.